How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of the ChiTown podcast. And this episode is just going to be me. Thomas and I are finally back on a schedule. We apologize for the extended holiday break. We were both super busy, but we're going to try to get back to our three episodes a week. It's mostly just going to be me for about the next week or so. Thomas got his tonsils removed, so it's just me. In this episode, I'm just gonna do an overall recap. So I'm gonna talk Bears, Cubs, Blackhawks. Next week, I'll talk a little bit of Bulls. I think we're gonna try to have Frank on the pod. So he was on one of the previous episodes, and he knows a lot about the Bulls. So I think that's the plan right now. Is It's just gonna be me for a little bit till Thomas heals up, and then get Frank on for the Bulls. And today, a lot of stuff happened while we weren't recording. So I'm going to start with the Bears. Obviously, some old news here. Bears lose again in Green Bay. And what else is new, really? Lose 17-9. The score is kind of deceiving that we're never really in it. The defense did their thing. Tyreek Stevenson's a baller. That's all I have to say about that. He should be the defensive rookie of the year. Um, there's always, for whatever reason, the media hates the Bears though, so I doubt that happens. But he should be the defensive rookie of the year. We need to talk about it though. Justin Fields, in arguably the biggest game of his career, played very poorly. If I was giving him a grade, I would give him a D for this performance. 11 for 16 for 148 yards, no interceptions, 5 sacks, rushed 8 times for 27 yards. I mean, you're fighting for your job, right? He's fighting for his job right now. And if I'm Ryan Poles, I don't see how you can't leave this draft without a quarterback. I mean, this isn't going to cut it. And I love Justin Fields. And I know Tom and I have said, hey, we're not big Fields fans. Thomas and I were at the Atlanta game where he was 20 for 32, 268 yards with a touchdown and rushed for 45 yards in the touchdown. But I mean, against the Cardinals, 100. I mean, the whole season this year, 2,500 yards, in 5-8 as a starter, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and you can say, well, he's rushing the ball well. He's rushing it okay. This year, 657 yards, nothing close to what he was last year. Yes, 2 less games, but it's just I don't think it's going to work out with Fields here, unfortunately. But Caleb Williams, maybe. Fingers crossed. We'll talk about him in a second. Caleb Williams is looking like I think that's just got to be the pick, personally. But who knows? Let's go on to the big news of the week is that coaching news. Matt Eberflus is staying the head coach for at least the 2024 season for the Chicago Bears. Luke Getsy and I think everyone except the offensive line coach is gone. They got fired. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about some offensive coordinator candidates in a second. Personally, I would have just fired everyone. I guess Eberflus, he did. I mean, if we're being realistic, he did have a big improvement from last year's 3-win team. This year was a 7-win team. But I just think at some point you have to line up a head coach. If you have to line up your head coach, and then if you're taking a quarterback, you have to line all of that up. And we saw it with Trubisky. We saw it with Fields. I mean, it's a reoccurring theme here. And it's not working. It's not working. That's the biggest thing is it's not working. So we'll see what happens. And we'll talk about some potential offensive coordinators here. We know that they've interviewed two offensive coordinators. We know they've interviewed Shane Waldron. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Clint Kubiak. Shane Waldron is the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, and he played a big part in reviving Geno Smith's career and really kind of putting the Seahawks back on the map after trading Russell Wilson. So I really like that interview. And then the other interview is Clint Kubiak, who is the passing game coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And I think this would be a home run too. Um, I'd be fine with either one of these, really. I think it's super important to bring someone in who's gonna. I mean, we thought it was Luke Getzey. I remember when he was hired, everyone was scared. Oh my goodness, we got a defensive head coach now. If Fields lights it up and the offense lights it up, then our offensive coordinator is going to leave. And I mean, yeah, but there's also the other side, which we got is Luke Getzey was terrible. The offense was terrible. Justin Fields wasn't that great, and now we're doing this over again. I'd be fine with either of these two guys. They're the only two that have come out that the Bears have uh, contacted, but I don't I don't know um, if it's going to play. I hope it plays out differently than what it did. I do think it would be better with a new quarterback. I I, I can't see Fields succeeding in now a third system. I just don't think I do not think something like that is going to happen. But we'll see. Um, who knows what's going to happen? Before we get to starting talking about the draft, I do want to point out Caleb Williams has not declared for the draft. I assume that he's going to declare. Um, but I mean, you never know, really. Really, you never know. You hope he declares. I think he will. I believe Fields declared on the last day. The deadline's January 15th. I believe Fields declared on the last day. Caleb Williams has done a bunch of things differently. Um, so I'm not worried that he's not going to declare. He's going to go top 3, and that's just a lot of money to pass up for an extra 4 million or whatever he gets from his NIL deal. So I'm not too worried about it. And one big guy that did declare already is Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the only like major Ohio State player that did declare. Like Ibuka, he went back. The running back Henderson, he went back. Ohio State kept a lot of their guys, and they're going to be a solid team next year. But Marvin Harrison Jr. did declare for the NFL draft, so I don't know if he's a Bears target. I mean, obviously he should be a Bears target if they don't go with a quarterback and they trade back with, let's say, a Commanders or a Patriots. But if I had to guess right now, I would say that Caleb Williams will be a Bear in April. That's what I think they should do. That's what I want them to do. I think if they were going to stick with Fields, um, they would have came out and said we're sticking with them and given him that vote of confidence. From listening to Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren's press conferences, I haven't gotten that vibe from them like at all. So obviously we'll see what happens. A lot can change. There's still interviews. There's still the combine. A bunch of other things can happen from now and the draft. But I do think that The Bears will be taking a quarterback at one, whether it's Caleb Williams or if Drake May impresses. I'd be perfectly fine with either of them. My preference is Caleb Williams, but I have them as almost like a 1A. This is gonna sound weird, 1A, like 2A, where I don't want to say 1B because I don't view them the same way as like a prospect. I do think Caleb Williams is a half tier above Drake May, but um, I think one of those two will be in the Chicago Bears uniform at the beginning of next season. So I think that's all we got for the Bears. Let's talk about the Cubs because they actually did something. This was another reason that we were not able to do podcasts was because there was nothing to talk about. We could talk about the Bears winning meaningless games since they choked the Cleveland game. We could talk about the Bulls finally doing something, but we'll be talking about that next week. And then the Blackhawks have been terrible. So the only good team in Chicago right now is the Cubs, and they up until the middle of last week, or I'm sorry, the beginning of this week, if you went and bought a pack of gum at the gas station, you have spent more money than the Cubs had spent on their major league ball club. Finally, Hoyer wakes up from his hibernation in the middle of winter, and the Cubs sign Shota Imanaga for 4 years, $53 million. There is an option, I believe, at the for a fifth year, and it'll bump it to 5 years, $80 million. And I really think this is a good signing for the Cubs. I was surprised that he signed for that little. Um, there were reports saying he wanted 5 years, 100 million, and I was disappointed because I was like, I don't think the Cubs are gonna do that. But they get him on a bargain of a deal, 4 years, $53 million. Really, really surprising. Um, and I'm on Fangraphs right now looking at his Zips projection for 2024. And they have him going 8-5 with an ERA of 3.55 with 25 games started, 137 innings pitched with 146 strikeouts. If we look under the hood a little bit, that's a 9.6 strikeouts per nine. They have a projection of 2.6 walks per nine, 1 home run per nine, 7% walk rate, 26% strikeout rate. They have a BABIP of 301, ERA plus of 117, a FIP of 3.55, and a 2.9 WAR, which at that price tag, I think is a really nice get for the Cubs. And I think that he's probably going to slot in right now as their number two, maybe number three. Just looking here, obviously the offseason isn't over. So hopefully they add another pitcher. Because if the season started today, it'd be Steele, Imanaga, Tyone, Hendricks, and Jordan Wicks. Which, I mean, that's a solid rotation. I don't think it's a World Series caliber like rotation. I do think you need to go out and get one more, maybe. Kind of have Wicks be your swing man, where he pitches every 6th day. If they wanted to do a 6-man rotation, or it's always nice just to have depth. I don't know. Maybe you sign a lower tier free agent, or the hot topic has been the Cubs have been in on Shane Bieber, trading for Shane Bieber. And that probably becomes a little clearer now since his arbitration case was settled. I'm not sure where your other starting pitcher is going to come from, but I do think they need to sign at least one more, and we'll see what happens. Cubs convention this weekend. Shout out to everyone who's at Cubs convention. Thomas and I unfortunately can't go to Cubs convention. Thomas had his surgery, and I'm in Arizona again. we are back at school, so we unfortunately were unable to attend. But shout out to everyone at Cubs convention, and hopefully there's a new face, not named Shota Imanaga or who the Cubs have just traded for. The Cubs trade Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope for Michael Bush and Yency Almonte. Initial reaction to this trade was why? I didn't get it. I mean I did get it, but I felt like the Cubs were on the losing end of this trade, and I also felt like I would not have given up on Jackson Ferris. If I had to rank the starting pitching prospects in the Cubs system, he's right behind Cade Horton. I thought very highly of him now, and I thought really highly of him when they drafted him. Zaire Hope, it sucks to lose him. He's a really solid outfielder, but I mean, there's a reason there's almost 100 prospects in the system. Not everyone's going to make the major league roster. They do get Yency Almonte, who is a interesting reliever. Very bad last year. Not very bad, but down near last year. 2 years ago, elite reliever. He's kind of following like the San Francisco Giants, where the even years he's really good and the odd years he's not so good. And then the key piece in this deal is Michael Bush, top 50 prospect, been blocked in LA forever now since they drafted him in 2019. 26 years old. He's listed as a third baseman on Fangraphs. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to play first, but he can move around the diamond. And I mean, he needs to hit. He needs to hit because, like I said, that this was an extremely high price tag, and I really do think that he needs to be able to hit and hit for power, especially the left-handed bat was big because they needed that. I still think they need one more left-handed bat. Um, we'll see. His Zips projection has him at 1 second here. 22 home runs with 75 RBIs. They do have him striking out a good chunk, 148 strikeouts. And they have him as a 248 hitter with an OBP of 333 and a slug of 446. OPS plus of 111. So I could live with that, and a 2.5 WAR. We will see. It will certainly be interesting to see how he performs. I'm hoping he can be a piece for the Cubs. I mean, I don't want to say post-hype prospect because last year in the minors, I think he hit like 26 home runs and had OPS over 1,000. So the hype is real. Older side for a prospect. I do think the Cubs overpaid. But sometimes that's what you got to do to get your guy, right? So we'll see what happens with that. I think they need another lefty bat. I'd love to bring back Bellinger. There's reports they're still in on Matt Chapman, Jordan Montgomery. Not sure about that one anymore with Imanaga, Rhys Hoskins, and Bellinger. I do think there's still a big bat that they're gonna get. I don't know who. I hope it's Bellinger. But who knows, really? It just got to be Bellinger on the right price, right? Like I'm not trying to pay Bellinger 250 million over 8 years. I don't think that's very smart. Of course, I think the highest I go is 200 million, and I think that's probably pushing it, but we'll see what they do. We'll see. I mean, there's still 5 weeks till spring training. I think we'll start to see the free agent market starting to pick up a good chunk. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We said that after Otani, then we said that after Yamamoto, and it was dead. But we will see what happens with that. We're hoping there could be a surprise trade. There was a rumor going around Christopher Morel was supposed to be at Cubs convention. Then they took him off the list, and everyone's like, "Oh, where's he getting traded to?" It was just because of the weather, because there's a blizzard in Chicago right now. But That would be, especially now getting Michael Bush, who, like I said on Zips, is listed as a third baseman. It'd have to be a massive return if you're trading Christopher Morel. There's just too much potential there for like a Shane Bieber. It'd have to be Shane Bieber, Emmanuel Clase, and somebody else probably to trade Morel. Um, but we'll see. I don't know if there's going to be I don't think there's going to be a big trade like that. I think if they're gonna, their next big move is probably going to be a Reese Hoskins or a Cody Bellinger type player. But Jed works in the shadows. You never know what Jed's doing. So who knows? Who knows? Um, so I'm gonna do, I guess, activity. What would a potential Cubs lineup look like if the season started tomorrow? I'm just gonna go position by position. I'm not gonna go who's hit. Actually, we know what we'll do that. Who's hitting first? So we'll go. Who do I mean? Obviously, this was, I'm an idiot. Nico Horner playing second base and hitting first. Hitting second. Now this is a weird one because I want to put Hap, but I also want to put Hap at like 6, if that makes any sense. I think I'm probably going to put Ian Happ second, though, just because I really like his on base ability. And he'll obviously be in left field. So 2 Gold Glovers at the top. Hitting third, this is where I'm going to put Michael Bush. And playing first base. Hitting fourth, I think this is Seiya Suzuki's breakout year. I guess he had it at the second half last year, and I'm going to put him fourth, playing right field. Fifth, I'm going to put Dansby Swanson, obviously playing shortstop. So now we have the corner outfielders, the middle infield, and first base. At third, I think actually I'm going to put Christopher Morel as a DH. And he'll be batting, swap Swanson and Morel, actually. So Morel's now hitting fifth. Swanson hitting sixth. Hitting seventh, and this is where the lineup starts to get weak a little bit. I'm going to put Yan Gomes catching. Then, so you need third base and center field left. I'm a big PCA guy, so I'm making sure that PCA makes the team, and I'm putting him at 8th in center field. And then at third, if I had to guess, opening day against the Texas Rangers. Let me look. I'm pretty sure the Texas Rangers. Apologize if you can hear the typing in the background. I just want to double check. Spring training. Yes, so they're on the road March 28th. They open the season against the Texas Rangers. I think I'm going to put Madrigal at 9 at third base. Now, hopefully, when the season does come around, we can swap PCA for Bellinger in center. You can push Bush to third, maybe, or Morel to third, and then have a Patrick Wisdom as a DH. Who knows? My ideal lineup would be, I mean, this is what we have currently. So it'd be Nico leading off, playing second, Ian Happ batting second, playing left field, Michael Bush batting third, playing first, Suzuki and right batting fourth, Morel fifth, being the DH, Swanson sixth, being the shortstop, Gomes batting seventh, catching PCA in center, batting eighth, and then Nick Madrigal batting ninth at third. It'd be nice to swap Morel with Madrigal and have a Reese Hoskins as your DH, and then put PC on the bench, at least to start the year, and have Bellinger play center. That would be my ideal lineup, and I think that lineup probably gets you 88 to 90 wins. Obviously, Justin Steele starts the or the opening day, so I think that would be my plan for the Cubs right now. If they made no more moves, I'd say this lineup with your pitching, maybe you. And I guess you have Craig Counsell too. Gotta factor that in. I think they improved to 85 wins with this lineup because you lost a good chunk. Stroman just signed with the Yankees. I guess you kind of replaced that with Imanaga. But the big one is you have to find a bat to replace Bellinger. It could be Michael Busch. It could be. I don't know if it will though. Like I said, I think this marginally improves the team. You still need to have your big acquisitions offensively. So, I mean, Bellinger, Hoskins, Chapman. You need to get at least one of those guys. I'm in the boat that you might need to really cement on paper that you are the front runner for the NL Central. That is what I would do for the Cubs. Who knows what Jed's going to do though. Talking some Blackhawks now. Boy, has it been a struggle watching some of these Chicago Blackhawks games. But then also, like last night, complete meltdown in the third period, the last 2 minutes. They probably should have won. But they did have a couple of nice wins. They beat the Flames. They beat the Avalanche in about the middle of December. Tough loss to the Canadiens. Another meltdown against the Blues. That one was brutal. Bedard, Michigan. I know we talked about that a little bit. Speaking of Connor Bedard, bad news on that front. Out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured jaw. He's going to miss the All-Star game. And it sucks because I know a lot of people were only watching the Blackhawks to watch Connor Bedard, which is a very valid reason. Like, that is a generational type player. So it's tough. I mean, probably looking middle of February to get Bedard back. So it's going to be a tough month and a half or so. Tough watch. Hopefully it's closer to 6 weeks. He is only 18. Hopefully he heals a little faster. We'll see. Like I said, he's going to miss the All-Star game, which sucks because I think he was the youngest All-Star, youngest player to be voted in as an All-Star. So yeah. And like I said, the Hawks, they've been in a tough stretch. They got another tough stretch coming up here. They get the Stars, then I guess they get the Sharks at home. So that'll be a tank bowl. And then Sabres, they're fighting for their playoff lives. Islanders, same thing. Canucks are good. Really, everything's a tough stretch when you're the 31st team in the league. But time for some good news on the Blackhawks. Frank Nazar, Sam Renzel, Gavin Hayes, and Oliver Moore all win gold with the United States at the World Juniors. And I don't know if Frank Nazar scored, but I know he had a lot of assists, and advanced analytics said he was one of the top skaters in the whole tournament, which things are looking up for the Blackhawks. I know it's Bedard, and then the rest of the cabinet is bare right now, but things are looking up for the Chicago Blackhawks. It's just patience. Patience is the biggest thing. People need to stay patient. It's going to happen. Help is on the way. You're going to get another top 5 pick this year, along with probably a back end of the lottery with the Tampa pick. Everything's going to be fine. And speaking of the draft lottery, to wrap up this episode, it's only going to be about 30 minutes. Sorry. We'll be back on Monday. I think I'm going to try and have Frank on Monday, if not, at least on Wednesday. Oh, I forgot Monday's a holiday. I'm going to try and get Frank on Monday. If not, Frank will be on either Wednesday or next Friday. So there'll be more of a back and forth, and you won't have to listen to me talk for a whole 30 minutes straight. But let's get to the Tankathon spin to end this episode. Here we go. Thank you to Tankathon. And let's do it here. Let's do 3 spins because I think we had 2 saved up from the last time. Spin number 1. Wow, they dropped to 4. That's probably Demidov or Iserman territory. I know Iserman's falling a lot. Reset it. Spin number 2. There we go. Celebrini. They jump up 1 spot. Columbus jumps up as well in this scenario. And Tampa stays at 12. So let's look at the mock draft real quick. So obviously it's Celebrini. I don't think Iserman's going to be at 2. If I had to guess who goes 2, it's Caden Lindstrom or Levshinov. I'm targeting more of an Adam Jaracek at 12 for the Blackhawks. He did just have a big injury, though, so we'll see what happens with that. I also really like Zeev. I definitely going to butcher his name. Bum. I think he's a really solid prospect. But I think if the Blackhawks are in that 2 or 3 range and they're not getting Celebrini, Lindstrom's got to be the guy. I think Lindstrom's probably going to go to. Tankathon needs to update this. Cole Iserman's fallen to about 6 or 7. I just think Iserman's too one-dimensional. I forgot who put it on Twitter, but the analogy was it's like you were playing My Career on NHL, and he put all his points into shooting and nothing else. But we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be it for today. Once again, apologies for the long break. Apologies for the short episode. Once Thomas is feeling better, we'll be back to 3 podcasts a week, and we'll get that content out for you guys. Have a good one.